Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Lilac titled Red. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves this track on Spotify, so we're going to listen through it from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Let's do it. Smooth with the vocals and filtering.
I know you're looking at my story, trying to find out where I'll be. Know you're looking at my feed, trying to get a sneak peek. But I'm with my girls tonight. I know we're looking right. Baby, don't have the time to try to give a fuck.
So much immediately.
My vibes immaculate and I know you want some. Can't get me out your head, but baby, I'ma leave you on red. Baby, I'ma leave you on red.
There's absolutely no filler in the first 45 seconds. We have, a great quality vocal performance, really charismatic and energetic alongside the funky bass line, the drums pushing us forward. A little bit of filtering which shows still understanding studio production, moving in and out and playing with listeners' expectations, bringing out that low end in the bridge.
Yeah, I know you want me. You better get in line. I'm everybody's dream girl. See me when you lay your head down at night. Baby, just keep it pushing. I don't need your double taps. If I'm being honest, I'ma leave you on red. If I'm being honest, I'ma leave you on red.
Word.
Leave you on red. Leave you on red.
Great vocal modulation here.
Leave you on red. If I'm being honest, I'ma leave you on red. And I got that spice, I got that thing that you like.
Phenomenal vocal
I know
harmonies.
you once said, I already saw, don't need a reply. I know, I got something that make them go crazy. I know, I got something that put them in a trance. Oh no, my vibes immaculate and I know you want some. Can't get me out your head, but baby, I'ma leave you on red. Baby, I'ma leave you on red.
I mean, this is basically on par with any commercial recording I've heard on, the radio, across digital streaming platforms from major label artists. I've got, from the bottom of my heart, I mean that. I really don't see any fault with this. I think it definitely has a space in the music industry, this kind of stuff. And I think that, we're getting some plays, and 9,000 plays ain't nothing to sneeze at with the amount of competition there is, especially at this genre. The concept of being left on red because you're not worth paying too much attention to, what you're doing. What you're doing your thing, you don't want to get distracted by it. I mean, I think that,
Yeah, I know you want me. You better get in line. I'm everybody's dream girl. See me when you lay your head down at night. Baby, just keep it pushing. I don't need your double taps. If I'm being honest, I'ma leave you on red. If I'm being honest, I'ma leave you on red. My vibes immaculate and I know you want some. Can't get me out your head, but baby, I'ma leave you on red. Baby, I'ma leave you on red.
it's charming. And that chopping of the vocal takes there. I saw it a pause in the middle of a part because I try and pause between the sections if I can get away with it, but just the chopping of it, how it kind of messes with the established theme, the tones that we're okay with at this point, that we know. I adore it. It's really creative. Yeah, no, it's short and sweet, just under 3 minutes. Definitely count. It's doing well. Because this is the conclusion of my review of this track, Red by Lilac. What do I think this track is about? I think it's simply about, it's about passion for a person, that one you see, maybe a lot of people want this person and they're like, no, I'm going to leave you on red. I already know that I am desirable, but I'm going out tonight. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm not going to get distracted by these people that just really aren't worth my time at this point. Their satisfaction is not my modus operandi, if you catch my drift. It's great. It's cool. I like that confidence there, that assertiveness. I think that it's classy, it's accessible. A lot of people, I'm sure, be able to relate. I mean, for better or worse, a lot of people be able to relate to being left on red by someone else. And yeah, hopefully everyone that gets left on red gets the hint, right? But yeah, great story, very current. I think a lot of, a lot of people, will be able to understand what they're talking about. And like the vocals from Lilac are wonderful. It's got that contemporary kind of like pop, kind of R&B kind of vibe with it, like the Dua Lipa kind of stuff. I understand it's one of Lilac's influences, as I understand it. I can definitely hear elements of that in here. It's just a really confident vocal performance in general. Great head and chest voice, really compelling vocal melodies there that were the star of the show. And we really told the story in a way that was classy and elegant. And we harmonized well with ourselves, and we had those. We had a bit of call and response in the chorus sections as well, and in the verse parts, and like on the left side of the stereo field as well. So there's good imaging there. And we also had some lower octave stuff happening as well in the end-tail bits of the hook parts, which is kind of dope with a bit of the chopping there as well, and kind of getting it to kind of stutter. We really treated the vocals just as much of a storytelling device as it was also like a layer within the track. An instrument in the mix, and I think that it was creative, and I really don't think we could have done more here. We had a set range in our capabilities, like went a little bit higher in the bridge part there where things are a bit more sort of airy, and then we just slammed back into it for the hook. So well done. Great stuff. So vocals and the story well handled. I think that we told it in a way that made sense with the story and the tones that we were going for there. Like we were keen to leave that person on red simply. We already know that we're worth it. We don't need to prove ourselves to anyone else. But I think also just the track at 2 minutes 51, outside of the vocals and the story, there was a lot going on within that 2:51. We had several verse, bridge, hook sections, as well as some other sort of like slight instrumental kind of breaks there. But we didn't really hesitate to get into that story. Like if we open it up from the start, like we start with some synth parts, vocals over the top, drums. Yeah, exactly. It hooks you immediately, right? And then it just drops with that first kick drum nicely sidechained into the mix, There's lots of different elements here, like layer-wise, but I suppose if we start with the drums, I love the quarter note kind of groove with that, the accent there moving us forward like a house track. It's sick. I think that the bass line moving around the fretboard a little bit was nice and catchy and kind of funky, and it was great to vibe along to. Some of the synth and pad elements that we had there as well worked well as to create more of a mid-range environment, very beautiful with the arpeggios or triads that they worked with, as well as the cute little melody lines as a sublayer to the vocals that we had kind of darting around the place. Because again, the vocals were the focal point in this, and that makes complete sense for the style and genre. But also it's good to have the backing stuff kind of popping off as well, so that everything's covered. And there might have been some other parts that kind of came in later on that really simply, that electro kind of sort of groove to it, the aesthetic was tight. It never really went too over the top. We wanted to sort of have the theme kind of sound like it was in control of itself, like we weren't trying to oversaturate the listener with the backing. So we didn't have a huge amount of range with the intensity of the parts. Like in the bridge part, we obviously took away the drums and stuff. We might have had some filtering of the kicks in the second half of the bridge to bring us back up in a way that made sense with the hook. But there weren't huge changes in the ebbs and troughs of the perceived loudness of the track and energy, simply because we wanted it to be smooth. And it was a very smooth sounding track, like we were already at the club, like we were already vibing like that, and I think that was dope. That consistency there made it really easy to go through that 2 minutes 51 without any sort of like massive complications in there or speed bumps. And I think the theme in general with those synths, with the bass lines, with the drums, with everything else of the vocal chops and any other elements that I might not have mentioned. If we go to the hook, did I miss any parts?
But baby, I'ma leave you like you learned and I.
Yeah, no, we got the key elements there kind of remaining throughout for the motif. And the theme basically was meant to be sleek and, quote unquote cool and current. And I think the production's on point and it makes a lot of sense with what we've got going on there. It's great dance track. Yeah, no, everything's well put together. I got no complaints about it. I don't think there's a note out of place. I don't think there was any. Again, I don't think there's any filler. We didn't need any lead instrumental parts. I think simply because the vocal had enough range to them in regards to the performance and like the implementation. Outside of the way the motif and the instruments and the vocals and the story sound, we simply do have ourselves a studio production, a recording, mixing, mastering. Now, the vocals sound nice and present in the mix. No issues with EQing or filtering. There's lots of variety to them, whether we had the mains or the side backings or the call and responses or the lower octave modulation stuff or the chopping and cutting of those bits at the end of each hook. So there was all sorts of stuff going on with the singing that kept it engaging throughout, and it was all handled adeptly. No worries there. I also kind of liked how the vocals were only on the left when we were harmonizing, like in that first verse, as if to kind of keep the stereo field a little bit uneven, to simply kind of make the listener wonder when the rest of it was going to come in. I think that's a smart way on a subconscious level to kind of keep people more sort of motivated and like, oh, okay, this is what's that? You know, why is this the way it is? Because if you give the listener everything I want, there's often no tension. So I think that was handled well. I think like the bass line as well as the filtering of it when it came in, the varying loudnesses with the automation of the channel faders and all that was solid, you know. It was nice to level in that low end with the drums nice and punchy with the side chaining going on there. The synth pads and the leads there that were subtle and more sort of like they were more sort of like sub layers and the sides and like the mid to not sort of like mess with the vocals too much with their leveling. I think they were all handled adeptly. There weren't any weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum, so things were well balanced in that respect. It was nice and wide in the stereo field as well. The music surrounded you in the headphones and I assume the speakers as well. The leveling of the instruments was good. There were no issues there. There was dynamic range to this, not a lot of it, but I don't really expect there to be too much in this style of music simply because you want that smoothness, the glowing of stuff to kind of keep the beat moving forward. Finally, it was nice and low without pumping, so, you know, the limited compression was handled. And I mean, this is effectively my review of Lilac with their track Red, and hopefully you enjoyed it. You know, I had a good time with it, so if you want to check out more of this stuff, please do check out the various social medias and a Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.